Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to the first official episode of the new version of Snooper Sunday. Hello. Hi, Evie. So what we're going to do is we're not going to start easily this time. We're going to dive straight in. Hi, Kathy. We are going to dive into some content. And what I thought I would do is, because true crime isn't easy, I thought we would get the difficult stuff out of the way straight away. So this first article in the show, hi, Christina. Hi, Ko, is from a case that was a viewer request. The viewer who requested this case is called Mr. Sunshine. I thank you very much. I realise it was a couple of weeks back and I haven't got round to it until now, but I really appreciate you requesting the case. Now, there is a trigger warning that comes with this first story. This young girl was subject to every kind of abuse you can imagine and was locked in a basement, etc. So please look after your heart before you go ahead and watch the article. Once the live is uploaded and completed, I will chapter the video so you can come straight and find out what you're looking for without any further ado. So hello, a warm welcome to everyone. And here is the very sorry and sad story of a young lady named Sylvia Likens. In July 1965, Sylvia Likens' father, Lester, decided to take up with the carnival again, while his wife was jailed for shoplifting that summer. Sylvia's brothers, Danny and Benny, were put into the care of their grandparents. But with few other options, Sylvia and Jenny, the sisters, were sent to stay with a family friend named Gertrude Banaszewski. For the first couple of weeks at the Banaszewskis, Sylvia and her sister were treated kindly enough, although Gertrude's oldest daughter, Paula, didn't really get on that well with Sylvia. Then one week, their father's payment for their keep was late. "I took care of you two bitches for 2 weeks for nothing," Gertrude said, and grabbed Sylvia by the arm, dragged her into a room and closed the door. Sylvia's sister Jenny sat outside the door to listen as her sister screamed, afraid to speak up. The money arrived the following day, but Sylvia's pain did not end there. Gertrude began to abuse both Sylvia and Jenny in broad daylight. Gertrude used a heavy paddle and a thick leather belt. When she was too exhausted or too weak to discipline the girls herself, Paula, her daughter, stepped in to take her place. Sylvia soon became the focus of the abuse. Gertrude demanded that Jenny join in, lest she take her sister's place as the brunt of the abuse being handed out. Gertrude accused Sylvia of stealing from her and burned the girl's fingertips. She took her to a church function and force-fed her free hot dogs until she vomited. Then, as a punishment for throwing up good food, she forced her to eat her own sick. She allowed her children, in fact encouraged her children, to partake in the abuse of Sylvia and her sister. The children practiced karate on Sylvia, slammed her into walls and onto the floor. They used her as an ashtray, threw her downstairs and cut open her skin to rub salt into the wounds. After this, she would be cleansed in a scalding hot bath. Gertrude gave sermons on the evils of sexual immorality, while Paula stomped on Sylvia's private parts. Paula, who herself was actually pregnant at the time, accused Sylvia of being with child and mutilated her genitals. Gertrude's 12-year-old son, John Jr., forced Sylvia to lick his siblings' soiled diapers clean. Sylvia was forced to strip naked and shove an empty Coca-Cola bottle into herself while the children watched. Sylvia was so beaten that she was unable to use the bathroom by herself, and when she wet her mattress, Gertrude decided to lock 16-year-old Sylvia in the basement without food or access to the bathroom. Gertrude spread every story she could imagine to get the local kids to join in with the beatings on Sylvia. She told her daughter that Sylvia had called her a whore and got her daughter's friends to come over and beat her up for it. She told them that Sylvia had said cruel things about their mothers. They didn't ask if it was true. They just visited to beat up Sylvia. Gertrude told her own children that Sylvia was a prostitute. And then she had met Ricky Hobbs, a local boy, and she had them carve the words, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," into her abdomen with a heated needle. At one point, Sylvia's older sister, Diana, attempted to see the girls, so she wanted to go and visit her sisters, but she was turned away at the door. Jenny later reported, though, how Diana snuck in food to the basement in which Sylvia was hidden. A neighbour had also reported incidents to the public health nurse, who entered the home, didn't see Sylvia because she was locked in the basement, and was convinced by Gertrude that she'd kicked her out. Neighbours were allegedly aware of how Sylvia was being abused. They had seen Paula strike the girl in the Banazuski home on 2 separate occasions, but claimed not to report the abuse because they feared for their own lives. Jenny was threatened, bullied and beaten by the family and the neighbours. She and was threatened not to go to the authorities. The abuse of Sylvia continued unhindered, in fact aided by all of those around her. Sylvia has said to Jenny, "I'm going to die," 3 days before she did. She said, "I can tell." Gertrude could tell too, and so she forced Sylvia to write a note in which she told her parents she'd run away. Sylvia was also forced to write that she'd met up with a group of local boys and given them sexual favours, and afterwards they'd beaten her up and mutilated her body. Then Gertrude told her children that she was going to take Sylvia into a forest and leave her there to die. A desperate Sylvia Likens attempted one final escape. She managed to get out of the front door before Gertrude caught her. Sylvia was so weak from her injuries that she could not have possibly gotten too far, but with the assistance of a neighbourhood boy named Khosay Hubbard, Gertrude beat Sylvia with a curtain rod until she fell unconscious. Then, when she came back to, she stomped on her head. Sylvia was dead by the 26th of October 1965 from a brain hemorrhage, shock and malnutrition. After 3 months of torture and starvation, she could no longer form intelligible words and can barely move her limbs. When the police came, Gertrude had stuck with her cover story. Sylvia had been out with the boys in the woods. She told them they'd beaten her to death and carved "I'm a prostitute and proud of it" into her body. Jenny, though, Sylvia's little sister, took her chance. As soon as she could get close enough to the police, she told them, "Get me out of here and I'll tell you everything." The police arrested Gertrude, Paula, Stephanie and John Banazuski, Richard Hobbs and Khosay Hubbard for her murder. Gertrude herself pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. "She's not responsible," her defence attorney told the court, "because she's not all here." There were several more children involved who proved just too young to be charged. Ultimately, though, on May 19, 1966, Gertrude Banazuski was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. She was spared the death penalty despite her own lawyer admitting that, in my opinion, she ought to go to the electric chair. Paula Banazuski, who had given birth to a daughter during the trial, was also convicted of second-degree murder and was also sentenced to life imprisonment. Richard Hobbs, Khosay Hubbard and John Banazuski Jr. were all convicted of manslaughter and given 2 to 21-year prison sentences based on the fact that they were minors. The 3 boys were all paroled just 2 years later in 1968. Gertrude spent 20 years behind bars. There was no question about her guilt. The autopsy backed up everything Jenny told the police. Sylvia Likens had died slowly and painfully over months. In 1971, both Gertrude and Paula were retried, to the result that Gertrude was once again found guilty. Paula pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter and was sentenced to 2 to 21 years. She's even once managed to escape despite being recaptured, and after about 8 years behind bars, Paula was released and was moved to Iowa, where she changed her name and became a teacher's aide. She was suspended from her position when in 2012 an anonymous caller tipped off the school district that Paula was once convicted of the death of 16-year-old Sylvia Likens. Gertrude Banazuski was granted parole on good behaviour on December 4th, 1985. Jenny and a whole crowd of people picketed outside the prison to protest her release, but it was no use. Gertrude was set free. The only relief Jenny received came 5 years later, after Gertrude's release, when the murderess died of lung cancer. Some good news, Jenny wrote to her mother with a copy of the woman's obituary. Damn old Gertrude died. I am so happy about that. Jenny never did blame her parents for what happened to her and her sister. My mom was a really good mom, Jenny has said. All she did wrong was trust Gertrude. So there you go, the very, very sad story of Sylvia Likens. Like I said, do give people a heads up if you're going to direct them to the video. It's not an easy listen, but I always promised that I wouldn't be one of these patronizing, money greedy YouTubers who uses toned down terms in true crime. It is what it is. It's abhorrent. It should never happen. So I'm going to call it exactly what it is. So you won't get any unaliveds from me. Right. Okay. Let's move on to some true crime headlines that I thought would be good to look at. So I'm going to put these into the middle. So, okay. So let's have a look. So Kiely Rodni. There's been much fuss about this case over the past couple of weeks. Some of it involving very, very big YouTubers who are getting involved and have things to say about it. However, I just wanted to cover this article published on the 23rd of August by Steve Helling in People magazine that said the family speak out after Kiely's remains were sadly found, and that they are going to celebrate her spirit. So the family of Kiely Rodni is speaking out after divers said they discovered a vehicle and human remains near where the 16-year-old girl vanished in early August. We are eternally grateful for the love and support you have shown us in the last couple of weeks, the Rodni Neiman family tells People in a statement. We have weathered a storm of unfathomable force, and purely thanks to the army of warriors, matriarchs, healers, and helpers holding us up that we continue to stand today. Mr. Rogers famously told a story of looking for the helpers whenever he saw scary things in the news. The family continued, we have not had to look for the helpers, as you have all come to our rescue in full force. We are forever indebted to you. Where we accept this sadness is cast under death's shadow, the rising sun shines upon us, reminding us not to mourn our loss, but to celebrate Kiely's spirit and the gift that we all received in knowing her. Kiely will surely remain with us, even though we will not get her back. There are certain occasions when words fail, the family says. Perhaps this is why our human nature has given us art, dance, and music, which are all more often effective ways to connect us to each other and our rawest emotions. Kindly excuse us as we retreat and dance privately to life's song while we celebrate our daughter's spirit and heal our souls. Rodney was one of more than 100 juveniles and young adults who had attended a party near the Prosser family campground, about 10 miles north of Truckee, California, on August 6. After the party, Rodney disappeared and her phone was turned off. Investigators were also unable to track her vehicle down. Days after she went missing, Her mother, Lindsay Rodni Neiman, pleaded with the public to help bring her daughter home in a video shared by Placer County Sheriff's Office on Facebook. "We just want her home," Rodney Neiman said. "We are so scared and we miss her so much and we love her so much." But then when she didn't return home, authorities conducted a massive search but were unable to find the missing girl. On Sunday, a volunteer group known as Adventures with Purpose announced on Facebook that they had found a car with human remains inside it, upside down in the Prosser Reservoir below 14 feet of water. An autopsy will be conducted to determine the cause of death. So it's very sad, and the young girl taken far too soon. And I wish our family well, and my thoughts are with them at this time. Must be very difficult. Okay. So we move on to another headline, which is in a woman's Facebook post points to possible motive in murder-suicide involving 3 male relatives. On Tuesday, a woman shot and killed 3 of her male relatives in Massachusetts before turning the gun on herself. Now, this is irregular. Hi, Gigi. This is irregular for a woman in a murder-suicide to shoot 3 male relatives and then herself. So let's have a read about what actually happened. On Tuesday, a 31-year-old woman killed 3 of her male relatives before turning the gun on herself in Lynn, Massachusetts. Now, a chilling Facebook post may shed light on the motive behind the killings. While law enforcement hasn't officially named who the female suspect is, the Boston Globe and additional outlets have identified her as Khosay Sharifi. In a Facebook post, which was reviewed by People, Sharifi wrote on Tuesday, "Several months ago, I found out that my sister had been abused by her husband for 14 years. Sharifi then detailed the alleged abuse, saying that her brother-in-law choked, slapped, and swore at her sister and recently punched her in the face. My parents and his parents knew all these years, but have not really done much but say, work it out. And what if people say you separate? What will people say if you separate, or even victim blaming?" Sharifi continued in the post. "I'm trying to say all of this as nice as I can so my post doesn't get deleted. There is no excuse for what he did. He kept doing it because no one did anything about it. How long did he think he would get away with it?" Sharifi's lengthy post went on to explain that abuse can affect someone not just physically, but also mentally. Absolutely. She also concluded a message to her sister. "I hope that you start healing and actually teach your daughters that abuse is not okay, as they have also witnessed him slap you. I asked how they felt about that, and they said they were scared and they didn't know what to do. Let's not pass this on to your kids as it's been passed on to you." Sharifi ended her Facebook post by writing about her father's alleged abuse against her mother. "My father has also been abusive before, verbally, but mostly financially abusive to my mom, from what I've personally witnessed. Maybe that's why my mom did not protect her own daughter, because she is a victim too. But that's no excuse. How can you let your own daughter get abused? Also, don't force me to be with the wrong person just for the sake of marriage. This whole mindset of just work it out needs to change because it's not healthy. I will not deal with this nonsense." The Facebook post was shared on Tuesday afternoon, shortly before the killings began. One comment on the post reads, "You will be missed. I'm sorry it had to end like this. I hope your sister and mother find peace." During a press conference earlier this week, Essex District Attorney Jonathan Blodgett said the 31-year-old woman shot her 66-year-old father, her 34-year-old brother-in-law, and then her brother-in-law's father, a 56-year-old man. The Lynn Police Department did not immediately respond to people's request for comment. A GoFundMe has been created for the family and is titled "Funeral Fund for the Sharifi Family of Lynn, Massachusetts." Okay, that's a very sad story. And, There is this one woman, and I will try and drag out a clip of her at some stage, who had killed her husband and had absolutely no regrets about it because of the abuse that she'd suffered over the years. But domestic abuse can kill more than just men. Kill more than just women. It can kill men as well when it's male on female domestic abuse and the women finally snap. So there's a bit of a cautionary tale there. Okay, let's have a little bit of good news, sort of. So, a man wrongfully convicted of New Orleans rape freed after 36 years in jail. Evidence proving Sullivan Walter's innocence for a 1986 rape was never presented in court. So there he is, Sullivan Walter, now 53 years old, holding a shirt reading "Justice." A New Orleans man was ordered immediately to be released from prison after 36 years of incarceration from a home invasion rape he did not commit. On Thursday, the Innocence Project, New Orleans, and the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office motioned to have Sullivan Walter's conviction vacated due to withheld physical evidence, and poor testimony was accepted by State and District Judge Darrell DeBigny, according to the Associated Press and the Times Picayune / the New Orleans Advocate. Walter, now 53, was 17 when he was arrested in connection for the rape, which happened in May 1986, according to the IPNO press release obtained by People. Walter was prosecuted as an adult for the crime. And the IPNO said in its statement on Thursday that testing on seminal fluids recovered from the victim proved that Walter did not commit the crime. But the jury that convicted Mr. Walter did not learn of this, and it's never before been presented in court. So that's what they call a Brady violation. If you have evidence that can exonerate the other client, the other side, and you don't turn that evidence over. To say this was unconscionable is an understatement. Fucking right. DeBigny told Walter Thursday, according to the AP. After Walter appeared in New Orleans court, he was taken back to Elaine Hunt Correctional Center in St. Gabriel, where he was officially released, free for the first time since he was a teenager. This man has been in prison since 17 years old. I just hope he can rehabilitate and be happy. Walter's incarceration stands as the longest wrongful incarceration of a minor in Louisiana state history and the 5th longest in U.S. history. The New Orleans Parish District Attorney Office did not immediately respond to request for comment. So what is unusual about this case is how little effort was made to hide the injustice being done to Mr. Walter. IPNO Legal Director Richard Davis said in a statement, "The lawyers and law enforcement involved acted as if they believed that they could do whatever they choose to do to a black teenager from a poor family and it would never be scrutinized or held to account. This is not just about individuals and their choices, but their systems that they let them happen. I'm just ready to live," Walter said after his release on Thursday, according to the Times. "I just want to live an honest, free life." The victim in the rape has since died, according to the motion. The victim's son expressed regret on behalf of his mother about the wrongful conviction when the authorities reached out to him. "This is horrible," DeBigny said on Thursday. "I'm at a loss of words to express the sorrow and the anger I have at the treatment you have been dealt by the system. Godspeed, fella. We wish you well, and we're very sorry for what happened to you. And there was no need for that. That's horrendous. But it is good news that he is now free." That's, yeah. What, 17 years of age. Locked away. Brady violation in place. And nothing done about it. Makes you sad. Right, okay. So those of you who've known me a long time know I have a thing for trying to find Jane Does, John Does, and baby Does. So I have decided to continue this in my Snooper Sundays as one of the articles that I'll be doing each week. This week's Jane Doe. If you want to take part in this campaign, by the way, please feel free to make your own Jane Doe video, John Doe video, Baby Doe video, and hashtag it FindMe. I will be doing one a week from here on in, and this is our first one. Again, it's quite a sad case. So it is about an African American child who was found in St. Louis in 1983. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play that case through for you now. Please take note of any details, especially if you're from that area, to see if you recognize anything at all that is familiar to you, that you might recognize, that might lead to finding out what happened to this sweet little girl. This week on the Doe Files, we're going to visit St. Louis in Missouri. On the 28th of February 1983, the decapitated body of a young girl was found in the basement of a crumbling vacant apartment building at 5635 Clemens Avenue. The child, believed to be about 10 years old, was naked from the waist down. She was clad only in a yellow V-neck sweatshirt. Her hands were bound behind her back with what appeared to be a length of jump rope. Her head appeared to be cleanly cut off, said Detective Sergeant Herb Riley of the Police Department's Homicide Division. It was like somebody took a carving knife to her. Police have not yet found the child's head. Investigators called the case one of the most sickening in memory. Just when you think you've seen about everything, you see something like this, said Stanley Stukowski, a former homicide detective who now works as an investigator in the medical examiner's office. I've been working murders for 20 years, and this has got to be the worst one I've seen. So it was determined that the victim was sexually assaulted before death, and her body was never reunited. Her head was never reunited with her body at all. Over the course of the years, this case has gone unsolved, and there has been no update on who the girl is or where she's from. Of course, it's difficult to identify this little girl because she has no head, but she did have a V-necked yellow sweater and 2 coats of red nail polish. If you have any information about this little girl, any memories from 1983 in St. Louis, Missouri, anything that you can remember at all that was unusual that might not have occurred to you at the time, please contact St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Okay, and there will be one of those every single week, every single Sunday. We'll be doing another Doe file. Welcome, Jelly Bear. Thank you very much for joining as a member. If you would like to recommend a case, please email me at thekazbat@gmail.com. Please recommend your case there. You can also leave a comment to recommend a case that you would like me to cover. I am looking, I think, to next week make a theme of people who are in positions of responsibility, such as nurses, doctors, who are the kind of people who you would never expect to commit a crime, who have committed horrendous crimes. Thank you, Christina. And to basically give you fair warning, because oftentimes people who are predatory and wish to cause harm will surround themselves with vulnerable people. And this is how they find their victims. So thank you, Evie. hashtag, there you go. So there's the email address, the Kazbat@gmail.com, and the hashtag for the Doe files is hashtag FindMe. Okay. Well, exactly, Jamie. How does no one miss a 10-year-old child? She was between 8 and 11, weighed about 70 pounds, was about 5'5". So bless her heart, she was taller than me at her age. You know, so how did anybody miss her? It just devastates me that this little girl is out in the world with no name. Nobody knows who she is. So if anybody knows anything at all, please feel free to share the video, share the timestamp for the Doe files. I will be uploading them separately to TikTok as well. So if you want to share them from there, because it's easier, because the Doe files themselves are there, please feel free to do so. Okie dokie. Right, so I realise this has been a first episode. These things aren't supposed to be monumental and go on for ages. It's supposed to be a little short show with articles, like a new sort of almost like a magazine show. I think that's what we've done here. So what I'm going to do is just to cheer us up. First of all, I would like to say, please, please, please subscribe to Evie Scorpio, because Evie Scorpio is my supplier of memes today, and she has supplied us with a great meme to see us out with, because I said to her earlier, this is a really heavy duty show. Send me a meme. And this is one of the many memes that she sent me. So I've got a few to keep us going. But I like this one because it reminds you that when you feel that all might be lost, you can always improvise and things will be good again. So let's just show you this one. When you can't afford to fix it right. A great big dent. You just paint yourself a Wile E. Coyote on your car. Job's done. No to bother. Everything's hunky-dory. There you go. As if on cue, Nightbot has just come in. Click that link. Subscribe to Evie Scorpio. She always has the freshest memes and also the best archive of memes. Fabulous. Okay, guys, thank you very, very much for joining me. Oh, Christina and our wonderful, wonderful emojis. Thank you very much for joining me. Each week will probably be around about this length, but it will be every week. I'm going to make the effort to come and see you and bring you true crime cases the way that they're meant to be reported, not sanitized for YouTube monetary purposes. That is my aim. True crime is what it is. It's not supposed to be pretty. It's not supposed to be viewable by 8-year-olds. This is adult content done in an adult way for adults. All right. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you take care of yourselves. Remember, you are fabulous, you are worthy, and you are more than enough. Much love from me. Until next time. Bye-bye.